Okay, sweet peas, sorry about that you got cut off at the end of that last video file. My video camera was running on full batteries and I had over 16 minutes left on video time, so you can make your own decision concerning how my tape recorder, my video camera just stopped operating while it was running on full batteries and had more than enough memory to continue. Is that capability mentioned in the remote neural monitoring file? The point I'm trying to make in this, in the continuation concerning the last video, what was being stated at the tail end of the last video before the video camera shut off, and that video is in the description of this YouTube video, and that video is also in the video that is below. The video that I made before this one is going to be put in a blog, and the first one will be on top of the second one. So just look at the video that's on the top of this one and you'll be able to see where this video is stemming from. As I was talking about, what they basically do is try to create a neural network, okay, that they piggyback off of concerning who you are as a person in reference to neural pathways that are already in your head. And as a result of the harassment, they are able to create and reinforce and train neural responses pertaining to the harassment. Then, through these continued circumstances that a target finds himself in as a direct result of the destitution that is created by the organized stalking expedition, what they're basically doing is trying to exploit you sexually, financially, and your insurance by attempting to get you to have to run to places that they can influence or control. Homeless shelters, charities, churches, self-help groups, you name it, okay? And their whole goal is to either use the microwave hearing effect to psychologically direct you to these places, or to put people along your path to sit around you while you're in a library or a restaurant, a movie theater, whatever, and they'll have conversations. And within that conversation, they'll talk about how, yeah, I was down and out, and luckily I was able to go to this specific church and get some help, or this, or the hospital to get help. And what they're trying to do is implant an idea in your head about where you can go, okay? And then as a result of the technology that I showed you in the previous video, they can literally stimulate what is known as the get up and go response, the irresistible go here, go there commands, okay? And that is a result of the remote neural monitoring, which can also be viewed as the psychoelectronic weapons effects, okay? And it literally talks about how it has the need to make you get up and go. And in these, concerning the capabilities of the microwave hearing effect, which is part of this diagram right here. Now, what we have to understand here is that in these expeditions, these organized stalking expeditions, what these people had the ability to do is, and here's another thing that I printed out here for you to be able to see. It literally says delivered by a parent in reference to the voice-to-skull technology, which is the same thing as the microwave hearing effect. One of the reasons why they use it is to delivered by a parent at a distance radio signal manifested by sudden urges to do something or go somewhere. Okay? And this is done because what they are is nothing but crafted expeditions in order to influence you using the microwave hearing effect to get you to go from A to B to C to D, where additional brain entrainment can be perpetrated towards you. And this is where they're putting ideas in your head about how you can handle the circumstances that they actually created. Okay? And the deception to get you to get up and go is achieved through the stimulation of the psychoelectronic weapons, okay, that are perpetrated against you in order to control your physiological responses and your motor cortex associated behaviors, and to influence your neural activity for neural influence. And this is how the microwave hearing to direct neural influence by literally transmitting psychological direction into your head, suggestion and psychological direction, how it can create high-fidelity speech in the human body, which means the audio cortex, into your audio cortex, using your own voice print, okay, by copying and pasting your voice print into a computer and then transmitting psychological direction to get you to go to A to B to C to D. where then they try to influence how you can think and respond to the circumstances that they put in your that they have put you in physically. And this is done to try and create and reinforce dependency on them in order to create a neural pathway for same. Okay? So once that neural pathway is created and reinforced through keeping you in the same destitution and same circumstances, they can get you to go back to them again and again and again. And this is done to create that neural pathway to get you to think to run to them, the hope and belief that you can depend on them once you do. And then when you get there, they then try to put additional ideas into your head to connect with that neural pathway, so additional thinking can be infused within it and resulting in motor cortex associated behaviors of you acting on those thoughts that are basically suggested to you through deception based on the circumstance and the need that they created in order to physically bring you to these places using a microwave hearing effect and the circumstances itself. And this is done to create and reinforce neural pathways to get you to believe that you can depend on them, the hopes that you can depend on them, and the getting up and going to depend on them. Once this neural pathway is created and reinforced, a resonance frequency appears concerning it. They identify and mark it using remote neural monitoring and then can stimulate it back into your current consciousness in real time on any date. And when they stimulate it, it is stimulated below the perceptual radar, which means that you had no idea whatsoever that your brain, that this neural pathway is being stimulated, okay, to be rethought out and reacted upon. And if you do your research, you'll clearly be able to see that they can stimulate these neural pathways, and they have formulated this stuff now to where they can stimulate it under the perceptual radar. And what I mean by this is that what I'm going to do is I want you to listen to this, okay? I want you to listen to this, okay? And listen to it closely.
For the government, where you came across a certain type of surveillance that wasn't exactly satellite-based, as you said, but it was created in some form or fashion to what you came across later. Is that right? Yeah, well, it was used for communication at that time, radio-free communication. So when people went out into the field, they could be given directions. To my knowledge, or to my memory, it wasn't two-way at that time. It was one-way communication to give you directions in a field setting. Without a radio, you heard it in your head. So it's been worked on for quite some time, and succinctly as microwave hearing. And we're also talking about literally, you're talking about using voice technology that goes directly to the mind of the person, right? Yeah, it's called microwave hearing. It was eventually you start hearing the sound, and what the Army, the intelligence communities have done is capitalize on that to be able to carry spoken word and communications on that same microwave carrier wave. And what story with this woman that you were engaged to? Why do you think they targeted her in particular? Any idea? It was strictly sexual assault based. She was a mortgage broker. She happened to work in an office for Wells Fargo doing mortgaging. And one of the PIs actually worked there as well. And one of the PIs and another physician in San Antonio had become attracted to her. And what better way to sexually assault someone than basically control them into drinking or eating wherever you put the room fentanyl? Because that's the other scary thing with this technology. If you're bombarded with it,
Alright, listen.
Get back to your specific story with this woman that you were engaged to. Why do you think they targeted her in particular? Any idea? It was strictly sexual assault based. She was a mortgage broker. She happened to work in an office for Wells Fargo doing mortgaging. And one of the PIs actually worked there as well. And one of the PIs and another physician in San Antonio had become attracted to her. And what better way to sexually assault in your tone of voice, like the little voice you hear in your head as you read, then a lot of people, a great subset of people, will respond to that as their own thought. And this is the section where the behavioral influencing file comes into play. Voice harassing someone and basically control them into drinking or eating wherever you put the room hidden off. Because that's the other scary thing with this technology. If you're bombarded with it and they're using a voice other than your phone and they're putting voices in your head, well that's audible harassment. You know what you're hearing. If they put it in your mind in your tone of voice, like the little voice you hear in your head as you read, then a lot of people, a great subset of people will respond to that as their own thought. And this is the section where the behavioral influencing file comes into play. Basically, it's nothing odd. Well, then that becomes mind control. And that's what we're seeing in a lot of these victims, my ex-fiancé included, is that you can be controlled. Your behavior can be controlled. You can be brought to rage, brought to sadness, made to think you're thirsty, made to think you're hungry, made to drink alcohol when ordinarily you don't drink. All based on basically controlling your thoughts. Almost, I hesitate to call it subliminal messaging because it's really more of an alteration of EEG than you acting on a suggestion. It's actually placing a thought in your head. Well, and this is where we get into
Now, in order to be able to trick events in the brain, what they have to do is identify and mark the the resonance frequency of each specific neural pathway that holds specific thoughts, behaviors, hopes, beliefs, brain states, or whatever. And what they can do is, see, what you got to understand in these organized stalking expeditions is that they put targets deliberately in immediate situations, okay? Which, in an immediate situation that can be extremely provoking, okay? Because what they want to do is overload your senses, what you see and what you hear as you're in the middle of this immediate situation that's happening to you. This in turn crowds out your ability to cognitively think clearly because your brain, in reference to fight or flight response, is kicked in. And when that kicks in, when you're in fight or flight mode, your innate responses from your limbic system kick in, which are dedicated basically just to survival, fight, or flight. Two main modes of directions that your brain has been stimulated to engage in. That in turn causes cognitive abilities in reference to thinking something through on the spot while you're in this immediate situation that is extremely threatening and loud, because they want to make sure that they crowd out your ability to consciously think clearly. What they'll then do is, while that is happening, it's called organized stalking street theater, they'll stimulate brain states like rage, anger, okay, or one of these neural pathways that have to do with classically conditioned and reinforced thought processes, hopes, and beliefs to get you to run to them or a place that they're infested in or can control, okay, because the whole goal is to take you from A to B to C to D for exploitation and further entrainment purposes. Now, the reason why I made this video, okay, is to talk to you about twin door mind control reverse thinking. And that is because you think and feel a certain way concerning how you are, what you put up with, what you believe in, and what you find acceptable and unacceptable. And about how you know that they're a threat based on your own experience and educated knowledge. But if they can use the microwave hearing effect to neurally influence you for psychological direction using your voice print, okay? And when they transmit this psychological direction, it's transmitted under the perceptual radar, so you had no idea what's going on, possibly while you're also in an immediate situation they're bringing about towards you physically, okay? Yes, in order to be able to influence how you act or react or respond in that immediate situation, okay? The whole goal for them is to entrap you, to exploit you, okay? Whether they use a syndicate police officer, judge, prosecutor, district attorney member, city attorney, okay? or whatever, social services, whatever. Their whole goal is to put you in circumstances. That's why the homelessness is created. That's why the financial destruction is created. Okay? In order to be able to classically condition and entrain these neural pathways. Because your consciousness concerning what you know, like I know all of this right now, but if they were to hit me with this technology, it would override all these other neural pathways that are involved with my own thinking, because it crowds out all other conscious deliberations as the transmission is happening to you, okay? And that's why they call it reverse logic. This is your normal, healthy way of thinking, and when they classically condition and reinforce this neural pathway and then stimulate it back into real time, it's stimulated on a timed constant rate, okay? Which means that you have a hard time fighting it because it's kept alive and stimulated into the current consciousness, okay? And since everything in this neural pathway and in this one is directly opposite in contrast to the theme of what you know about them, okay, that's where you got the